Try this. Instead of waiting for people to say yes, make it impossible for them to say no. See, great salespeople don't chase. And your job is to create so much certainty in the mind of the prospect that the only answer that makes sense to them is to say yes. If you can't create confidence, then you can't create customers. You'll keep hearing the prospect give you a smokescreen for uncertainty. And it sounds like the objection of, let me think about it. And then your pipeline completely dries up with people stuck in waiting to make a decision. See, when you chase, chasing is what happens when you forget who you are and what your role is in the sales process. Your job is to be the originator, the authority, the expert, the guide, the person who leads the conversations. That's why you are there. You're there to uncover a problem and then create the solution. And with absolute emotional and logical certainty that this is their next step to make a decision. And not just to make any decision, but to make the decision to act now. See, the moment you start chasing prospects, you've already surrendered your authority to lead. You're behind in the conversation. If you really think about it, that's what breaking rapport means. So many people think that rapport is know, like, and trust. Well, that's a component of it. But why would somebody know you, like you, and trust you? It's because they see you as an authority. And when you lose that, when you break being the originator, you're no longer leading. You're stuck hoping. And look, we all know it. Hope is never a strategy, certainly not in sales. Sales isn't about chasing interest. I'm going to suggest to you that if you've got a name, an email, and a phone number, or any combination of those, if you have a name and an email, or a name and a phone number, in response to some marketing, that person has raised their hand and said, I am somewhat interested. So we know that they're interested. And the only reason why they're interested is because they have a need that's currently unmet, or they have a problem that's currently unsolved. Now, does that mean that they're qualified? No, not every lead is qualified, but they're absolutely interested. They're absolutely a qualified lead in terms of them having the problem. And when your job is to transfer certainty to them, certainty that you are the person, you are the authority who can solve that problem better than anybody else. See, real certainty isn't about being loud or over the top. It's not about being the most charismatic or animated person in the room. It's not even about having all facts and figures to give somebody right now. It's about alignment. See, where your presence, your tone, your energy signature all match a level of conviction that you have their solution that gives them absolute certainty. When you're congruent, your buyer doesn't question the offer. They see it as the next logical thing to do, and they trust you. They believe in you. They know that you're the expert. They feel that your level of certainty is based on your years of experience, you being the authority in this, somebody who's been there, seen that, and done that. And that's what they're going to buy into. See, buyers don't follow language patterns. They don't follow catchphrases. What they follow is energy. It's energy. And if your posture and your pace and your tonality, and yes, your word choice signals any level of uncertainty, like if you use hedging language, like, well, I think we can help you, or, we're one of the top companies, that's hedging language. That creates uncertainty. And you know what they do? They mirror it back to you. Like so many salespeople have studied the basics of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And one of the, I guess, tactics of NLP is when we mirror our buyer, right? So we may mirror their words, we may mirror their pace, we may mirror their posture, but at the end of the day, they're also mirroring you. They're following you. So if your presence is calm, if it's grounded, if they sense that you're confident in what you're saying, that you're certain in what you're saying, they'll lean in. See, you don't need to sell them. You need to lead them. You need to be a match for the decision that they're afraid to make on their own. You need to make that this decision that they're going to make, as scary as it may be for them, it may lead them outside of their comfort zone. It may lead them into uncharted waters. And in many cases it does. But they have confidence because they know not only are you able to answer their questions, not only is your offer or product going to be able to solve their problem, but that you personally are going to stay with them through the entire process. See, most salespeople try to create confidence with information. They'll give them statistics, or they'll try to use the influence of social proof. And those are great ways to build it, but not create it. The truth is, nobody buys because they understand all the details. They buy because they understand and they trust the outcome. And trust is not built through slides or statistics. It's built through the alignment of your belief, of your presence, of your leadership, of your authority. So from the very first moment that you step into a sales conversation, pick up the phone, talk to them, email even, a frame, a picture is being built in their mind. Now, either you establish that picture and what they see, or the prospect will. See, it's like this process is either going to happen by design or by default. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in the sales process, I want to have care, custody, and control. I want full responsibility for what's going to happen in that engagement. See, the truth is whoever holds the frame, whoever defines the tone, whoever's giving the direction, whoever's painting the picture, whoever's leading the energy of that exchange, of that interaction, of that engagement, ultimately shapes the decision that gets made. I call it ITO, influencing the outcome. See, again, rapport isn't just about getting someone who understands them and being their friend. It's somebody who leads them, who knows what they're doing. Again, rapport isn't about sameness. It's not about commonality. It's established when you earn your prospect's trust because of your authority, because of your experience, because your intention is to help them, and your ability to transfer your certainty that you can help them is exactly what builds rapport. If your buyer doesn't feel like you know where they're going, if they don't believe that you understand not just the problem, it's one thing to have the problem. It's a completely other thing to understand the context in their life, the impact that problem has on them. I would imagine that the prospects you're meeting with all probably have the same problems, whether it's a communication problem, a logistics problem, a software problem, whatever you're selling. I'm sure that all of your prospects have to some degree the same problem, but the context of that problem, the consequence of that problem is completely different for every single one of them. And if you're going in and just telling them and giving them facts and figures, and you're doing most of the talking, and you think selling is telling, they will default to skepticism. And the reason they'll default to skepticism is because people can't hear until they know they've been heard. Not just that you've heard what the problem is, but you've heard what the problem is and the context and the consequence it is to them. See, in the absence of you being a clear leader, their mind retreats to fear, doubt, and confusion. And fearful, doubtful, confused people do nothing. They do nothing. It's called the terror barrier. But when your words, when your tonality, when your level of confidence and certainty aligns the buyer's problem and aligns with the understanding of the consequence and context of their problem and what it means to them, the buyer gets relief. They feel like this person gets it. They understand us. And that relief becomes really the first signal of what we call rapport. Now look, controlling the frame, painting the picture isn't about force. It's about doing this in a really elegant way. It's about flow. It's about entering into a conversation with so much absolute certainty. A level 10 certainty, a level 10 certainty in you, a level 10 certainty in your product, a level 10 certainty in your company, and such clarity such clarity of understanding the problem and its consequences that the buyer never even questions who's guiding the interaction. They see you as the authority. It's like when you go into your doctor's office and you're sitting there in your underwear on the cold table, and that person walks in with the white coat on and the stethoscope around their neck. There's no question who's in charge. Now that level of authority has been programmed in all of our minds. We've been programmed that, if anybody walks in with a white coat and a stethoscope and has, a few initials after their name, well then, MD stands for minor deity. Like they're God. And we listen to what they say and we respect what they say. But in the sales conversation, you have to build that level of authority. And if you don't, you lose it. And I'm going to tell you, the fastest way to lose that level of authority, the frame, is to collapse into what we call commonality, is to just go off script and what we say, go off to Pluto and talk about things that have nothing to do with the problem. Somebody's not giving you their most precious resource, which is their time, to talk about their ski trip to Vail. They're not giving you their time to hear about your dog and their dog. See, whenever you collapse into commonality, instead of standing for your expertise, you break rapport. Now look, before I go any further, I want you to stop and I want you to grab a free resource that I built for you. It's called the 17 Closing Moves Guide. The 17 Closing Moves Guide. And I believe it's one of the most practical tools I've ever created for sales professionals. And here's why. Most sales don't fall apart in the beginning. They fall apart in the last 5 minutes, not because your product isn't good, but because the close isn't clear. It's not elegant. It's muddy. And what happens is momentum dies. Now, inside the guide, what I've done is I've outlined 17 specific moves that you can use right now on your next call to stay in the role of the originator as the leader all the way through the conversation. So that when it comes time to close, the decision just feels natural. It's obvious. It's easy. Now, I've had my team put the link in the description down below, and all you've got to do is download it and do that now, and then come right back to the teaching. See, the only reason someone doesn't buy is because something about your offer still feels riskier than their current situation, even if their current situation is painful. See, there's an idiom that says, better the devil I know than the devil I don't. And people are programmed with that idiom. Maybe it's better that I stay with the cleaning company that's failing me than risk giving my keys and my alarm code to this person that I don't have absolute certainty in, that I don't think is necessarily the expert. I don't see that this person is any different than the person I'm with right now. See, your job isn't to try to pressure or convince them into courage. It's about helping them say yes and feel like saying yes is the smart, safe, and certain choice for them. The biggest sale you have to make is not your offer. If you really think about it, it's the story that your buyer is living in. See, if their dominant belief is that I can't trust myself to follow through, I can't trust myself to apply what the solution is, no script is going to overcome that. So you have to interpret that narrative and help them imagine this new outcome where belief feels more powerful than their fear. How integrating your solution is going to be easy and predictable. I can just tell you this. Every single person seeks emotional safety. And emotional safety doesn't come from guarantees or bonuses. It doesn't come from language patterns. It comes from your energy. The buyer is watching you for signs of alignment. See, the first sale is the sale you have to make to you. Have you bought in? Like, are you sold on your offer? Are you sold on them? Are you sold on them? Are you sold that they're qualified and that they can actually achieve the desired result? When I'm selling mentoring or coaching, I have to fully believe that not only can I get them where they want to go in their lives, but they can get there. And most importantly, are you sold on the outcome that you're promising? Do you believe that? Because if you don't, they won't. Buyers will always default or habituate down to the decision that feels the most familiar, even if it keeps them stuck. Here's what I know. I've mentored and trained and coached tens of thousands of people. Lots of them have visions of what it is that they want. And it's been my experience is that most people will surrender what they want for what's familiar every single time. See, that's why your close has to be rooted in repetition, reassurance, confidence, authority. The close doesn't live in your pitch. It lives in the emotional tone that you set and carry and hold throughout the entire conversation as you move them to and through emotional and logical certainty. Every single objection that you hear is a signal that your buyer still has emotional uncertainty. Like if I feel like in my gut, if I feel like this is the right decision, and I have no doubt about it, I'm making the decision. I don't need the facts and figures to convince me. There's no amount of social proof needed. My emotional gut telling me that I believe this person has the capacity and the willingness to get me to the promised land, that is enough social proof for me. So don't mistake this smoke screen for that level of uncertainty as a rejection. It's not a rejection. It's not some wall that they're putting up. It's a window. It's a door. And if you know how to respond with grounded certainty, you can guide them through that door, through that window, through that uncertainty. And you do that by going deeper into the process of building trust and authority. Let me think about it is not a real objection. It's a placeholder. It's a placeholder. It's the buyer's way of saying to you, I'm not ready. I don't feel safe to tell you why, but there's something that I'm unsure of. So when you try to convince them, when you go into convincer mode, what you're doing is you're increasing their resistance. See, what we resist persists. And so when I press, they press. When I push, they push. If you're taking any notes at all, write this down. Force negates. The more I have to try to, if I have to force you to convince you to buy, then I'm going to have to convince you to stay happy with the result. I'm going to just convince you to stay happy in the process. But when you learn how to lean in with calm authority, with leadership, you lower the temperature of the conversation. You remove the fear of consequence. See, a professional knows how to hear an objection without being reactive. Like in our 11-step proprietary process that we teach at the Martinelli Sales System, we specifically have a step that creates the objection. And we call it the welcomed and expected objection. And it's welcomed and expected because we know in the 11-step process, when we first take that temperature, we know that in 90% of the cases, we probably don't have enough certainty. But what we want is we want them to get that objection on the table now. Let's hear that level of uncertainty now so that we can deal with it, so that we can build this emotional, logical case to overcome it. See, instead of responding with defensiveness or even discounting their concern, what we're going to do is we're going to redirect their focus back to the original desired transformation. So if they're objecting, it means that they're still in the process. Don't rush them, and certainly don't stay stuck there. Lead them. Lead them to the next step. Sales isn't some battle to be won. If you think about it, there's this very natural tension, and your job is to manage it. And when objections arise, and they will, they're welcomed and expected. Your job is not to win the day. You're not there to win the argument. You're not there to convince them. Your job is to anchor them in emotional certainty. Because if they feel your emotional certainty, they'll borrow it. It's just like belief. Anything you've ever accomplished in your life that's meaningful, chances are when you started, you had some uncertainty and some doubt. And you had a mentor, a teacher, a coach, somebody who had influence in your life, who saw your potential, who believed in you, and you acted on the borrowed belief. And they will borrow your certainty until their own certainty becomes strong enough to make the decision. See, you're not waiting for the green light. You are the green light. You are the green light. Your prospect, when they're sitting across the table from you, over the phone, when they're reading your email, your prospect is like scanning you for emotional cues, looking to see if you believe enough for both of you. If you're waiting for the perfect moment to ask for the order, you've already signaled uncertainty. And they'll follow that signal. See, the decision to buy happens the moment that you decide to lead, to stay in this position of authority. Not when you say your price, not when you present your program and all of its details. The moment of sale is when you emotionally commit to holding a space for the yes, and that you refuse to back down when any discomfort arises. That's when you roll up your sleeves. That's where real sales lives. And you must become a mirror for their future self. They've got to see their future, their desired outcome in you, in everything about you. See, the prospect isn't just buying your solution. They're buying into the version of themselves they hope that your offer will create. And if you're not standing in that future energy of belief, you leave them alone in their doubt. And that's a lonely place. This isn't about manipulation. It's about mastery. It's about mastery. Here at the Martinelli Sales Method, we look at sales as something sacred. It's a sacred conversation. It's a sacred bond, built in trust. It's the art of helping someone make a decision that they already want to make. They're just afraid to do it. And your job is to remove the noise, to remove the static, to remove the fear and the doubt, and to meet their uncertainty with this absolute, unwavering certainty of your own. See, if you want to become not a good salesperson, if you want to become a great salesperson, don't ask for better leads. Work on your inner certainty and emotional alignment. I'm going to tell you this. The difference between average and excellent isn't the words. It's not the script. I can take a top performing script and give it to somebody who hasn't developed the inner game, and they'll lose. I can take a losing script and I can give it to somebody who's developed the inner game of absolute certainty and belief, and they'll win every single time. It's not about the words. It's in the energy of the person behind them. And when you lead with authority, certainty, rapport, it creates alignment, and your buyer will feel it. They'll feel it even before you say a word. So don't worry about trying to become a better talker. I'm a natural stutterer and stammerer when I speak. I'm not a polished speaker. What I am is absolutely certain in my ability, in what I'm offering. Like, I'm absolutely certain that if you invest in my program, if you work with me and my team, I'm absolutely certain we will increase your results. Period. End of story. I know it. I've seen it because I've done it myself. So when you do this, when you have that level of absolute certainty, the close kind of takes care of itself. Now look, if you haven't already taken some action, if you haven't downloaded the 17 closing moving guide, like the 17 closing moves that you need, it's a free guide. It costs you absolutely nothing. It's in the description, and it's going to give you the tools that will help you lead with authority every single close with calm confidence and absolute certainty. Don't leave this lesson without it. And once you've downloaded it, I want you to come right back and I want you to watch the very next video titled Poverty Programming Trap. See, most people are programmed for poverty consciousness, not prosperity consciousness. And in the video, I show you why so many talented salespeople sabotage deals and they don't even know they're doing it because they're still trapped in this survival mode programming that absolutely kills their certainty. I'm sorry, but until you fix it, you're going to keep hearing, let me think about it. Let me check with my husband. Let me talk to my wife. You're going to get a no in places where you should be hearing yes. Download the guide, then click straight on to this next video. I'll see you there.